Hi guys, now we are going to discuss about the estimating market opportunities for a new product. The various factors for estimating market opportunity for the new product is first one is market size, second one is your market growth rate, third one is your profitability, fourth one is your competitors, and last one is your product and your customer type. Now we'll start from the market size. Market size is nothing but is your the total available market is there, or how much serviceable market will be there, and what is our target market is there. Whatever the problem we are solving, it's a what one, or how much big market we are having, and to where we are selling, as well as to whom we are going to sell. So everything we should analyze. So based on that only your profit or the reach of the product is dependent. Next one is your market growth rate. Is nothing but your the year wise projection. What is the previous year projection, and what may be the next year projection will be there, or what is the current year projection. So everything will be depend on the market growth rate. That means how much growth rate is there with respect to the annual. Then profitability, that means how much we can able to get with respect to the years, how the product will withstand, because how it will attract the new customers. So because new customers is there, more products will sell, and then we can able to get more profitability, and we have to keep on maintain our existing customer also, because continuous revenue can able to come from our regular customers only. And competitors, we should know the strength and weakness of our competitors, as well as we should be a smart worker, not should be a hard worker. So we should be different from our competitors, so then only we can able to sell our product, or the new product we can able to develop. And then we should know the strength and weakness of the our competitors product also, so then only we can able to make best product out of this. And next one is your product type and is your customer type. That means to whom we are going to sell, or which type of product we are going, or we are making, whether it's a restaurant type, or it's a store type, or it's a movie business, or it's a book business, or it's a car or rental business. So you should have a clear idea about your product type, and with respect to your product type you should know about your customer type also, to whom you are going customers, or what is their age limit, or how frequently they will purchase. So every database you should have for the new product development. Now I'm going to play a small video for your better understanding.
There's really no way to take a product created for, say, the American mass market, make a few changes, and make it work for the Indian mass market. But that hasn't stopped multinationals from trying. That's the model global companies have followed for decades. To appeal to customers in emerging markets, they water down products designed for developed markets. However, a better way is for global companies to develop brand new, cost-effective products inside the countries where they'll actually be used. For example, General Electric developed several medical devices in emerging markets that were a little simpler and a lot less expensive. In China, they developed a compact, portable ultrasound machine from scratch. It cost just $15,000, compared with over $100,000 for their high-end model. Although it didn't have all the bells and whistles, it was a hit in China's rural clinics. That's when GE realized that American doctors could use it too, not to compete with the more expensive product, but for new uses, in situations where portability was important or space was tight. This is what Vijay Govindarajan and Chris Trimble call reverse innovation. Not only does it result in products that address market needs in emerging economies, it also creates new sales opportunities in developed ones. Reverse innovation can be tough to pull off, but there are two reasons to try. First, because emerging markets have larger populations and lower per capita GDPs, they're especially sensitive to many of the forces affecting competition in global markets today. Products built for emerging markets are more likely to be well suited to issues that ultimately affect every market. Second, as emerging market companies grow, they'll be looking to export their own products, often at much lower prices, which incumbent firms will find tough to beat. Practicing reverse innovation today will help protect incumbent firms from being disrupted by low-cost competitors tomorrow.
Starbucks has coffee shops all over the world. There are more than 28,000 locations in 76 markets, from Shanghai to Guantanamo Bay. And in China, a new Starbucks location opens up every 15 hours. But there is one continent that seems uninterested in the hype over the Seattle-based coffee chain. And that continent is Australia. It's proven to be one of the toughest markets in the world to break into. So tough, in fact, that Starbucks closed more than 2/3 of its stores on the continent back in 2008. So what went so wrong with Starbucks in Australia? To answer that, let's go back to July of 2000, when Starbucks opened its first Australian shop in Sydney. From there, it expanded fast. By 2008, Starbucks had 87 stores across the continent.
I think one of the problems for Starbucks, and it's true for a lot of businesses that have been successful in one country, is that they thought that their business model could just roll out to a different environment and there was no need for them to adjust.
But that was the problem. It tried to grow the empire too fast. Starbucks rapidly opened up multiple locations instead of slowly integrating them into the Australian market.
When they launched too rapidly and didn't give the Australian consumer an opportunity to really develop an appetite for the Starbucks brand. They also moved into regional areas, into outer suburbs of major cities. And so for the Australian consumer, it was almost like it was too available for them. And so there wasn't this point of difference, this want, this need for Starbucks, and it wasn't an organic growth, which is what we very much saw in the US.
In its first 7 years in Australia, Starbucks accumulated $105 million in losses. By 2007, Starbucks Australia was hanging on by a thread, taking big loans from the US totaling up to $54 million. And in 2008, Starbucks announced it was shutting down 61 stores. But of course, 2008 was a difficult time for businesses due to the financial crisis. Along with the Australia closures, Starbucks also closed 600 underperforming American stores. But even still, such a retreat in Australia was embarrassing for the brand.
When you're shutting down 75 stores, for the Australian consumer, when they did leave the market, or at least a large number of their stores were shut down, they didn't really care.
It's partly because Australians are spoiled for choice when it comes to coffee. Australia's coffee market is one of the biggest in the world. The industry is expected to hit more than $6 billion in total revenue in 2018. They've been immersed in nuances of cafe culture since the mid-1900s, when Italian and Greek immigrants began traveling to the country. The immigrants introduced Australians to espresso. By the 1980s, Australians were fully engulfed in cafe culture. They've also grown accustomed to specialty menu items, like a flat white or an Australian macchiato.
So cafes in Australia were born out of like the Italian culture of, meeting a friend and knowing your local barista and it being kind of like a local meeting place where everyone knew each other, and that coffee was just a part of that. And then Starbucks came in with what is more of an American style like coffee culture, which is essentially just like coffee is a product, coffee is a commodity, coffee is like perk me up in the morning. It's caffeination.
Starbucks had a basic menu and offered more sugary drinks, which most Australians didn't like.
In Australia, where local tastes are different, so we don't really want a coffee that's hundreds of ounces with lots of sugar in it. We want something a bit more sophisticated.
Plus, Starbucks charged more than local cafes. So Australians instead opted to pay less for coffee they liked from a local barista they trusted.
And so when you come in with this big hey, we're going to open all these cafes and they're all going to be to-go focused, it just was the complete wrong market for what the Australian was used to.
But there is one American coffee company that's thriving in Australia. Founded in Chicago and now based in Australia, Gloria Jean's got the traction in Australia that Starbucks couldn't. Gloria Jean's has more than 400 Australian locations and serves more than 35 million consumers in Australia each year. So what is Gloria Jean's doing in Australia that Starbucks isn't? Well, the company attributes its success to two Australians who franchised the business in their home country. Shops started to show up in Australia in 1996. Fast forward to today, the company has a presence in every Australian state. The reason? Its menu. The chain offers a wide variety of espresso drinks and specialty coffee. Failing to adapt its menu to Australians' coffee culture proved to be a mistake for Starbucks. And the company faces another challenge later this year: Italy. Starbucks is opening its first store in Milan in late 2018. Home of the espresso, Italy is rich in cafe culture. But according to Starbucks, it's not going to make the same mistakes that it did in Australia. The company said that it would develop in Italy with humility and respect for its coffee culture. It announced it would be opening a roastery, which is not your average cafe. It gives customers a chance to see coffee beans roasted and processed before their eyes, so there's a chance that it won't struggle like it did in Australia. But Starbucks isn't admitting defeat in Australia either. Starbucks is staging a comeback on the continent. In 2014, Starbucks locations in Australia were purchased by the Mount Waverley-based Withers Group. Starbucks told CNBC that since its sale to the Withers Group, the company learned a lot. So this time, it's taking a different approach to putting Starbucks on the continent.
So if you just think about Australia as a big tourism destination, there's a lot of US and Chinese tourists. Starbucks have been very successful in China, and it makes a lot of sense for them to build out because there are people looking for something that's familiar to them.
Now with 39 locations in Brisbane, Melbourne, the Gold Coast, and Sydney areas, this time it's not looking to appeal to Australians. But instead, the coffee giant hopes to be a familiar face for tourists visiting popular vacation destinations in Australia.
Australia's always been a high-volume tourist market. The same thing in terms of international students at our universities, potential opportunities for them. And we're starting to see Starbucks enter into some large shopping malls here in Australia as well.
Australia welcomed 9 million tourists from 2017 to 2018, and those international visitors spent more than $30 billion in 2017 alone. So tourists could possibly be the key to keeping the company afloat and preventing another downfall.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.